We really like to film in the studio because it gives us a feeling of control of everything, our schedule, the lighting, the audio. But it's really important also to get out of the studio because that can become too predictable and too boring. If you find yourself always doing the same thing, for example, you want to find a way to add more variety. And one of the best things you can do is go outside, do some videos with your team or on your own, and this video will give you a lot of tips on what to plan for so that on filming day you are already prepared for anything that might come your way. As you can see, we're filming outdoors today. We brought the studio equipment with us. I'm monitoring audio as each of us takes a different task. We don't have control over mostly anything, actually. We are out in the wild. There's construction, vehicles, the sun is moving. We have a cloudy day, so the light is constantly changing. For example, back here you can see while this little spot looks nice, behind me is blown out or overexposed because we don't have the way to control that light over there different from here. So in this video, we're going to help you have some techniques to plan for rogue or guerrilla filming where you can't control everything. But we will have some ideas on how you can remedy lighting, audio, people around you, and the unexpected.
So the first thing that you can't control when you're outside is the sun, but you can manage the sun. So a couple things you can do for that is just choose where you're going to be shooting into. Right now we have a big cloud above us, and that's great because all the exposure in the background is more or less the same as the exposure you would need for my face. But in a couple minutes, that's probably going to come out and either expose, depending where the cloud is, the background, so it's really bright and overexposed back there, or it'll hit me first, or it'll hit everything, and it'll just look terrible. So some things you can do are film just into the shade on the backside of a building, kind of like this, where we chose right now. So here are a couple examples of that happening over the course of today's filming day. So here's a shot where we were filming Alicia, and she was standing under a tree, and we were just outside with sky above us, and then the sun came out from behind a cloud, and it did this nasty mixed light on her face, where you have bright spots and dark spots, and it was not very pretty. Also, here's a really short time lapse that we shot in that same area of just how much the sun fluctuates your exposure. And this is only a couple of minutes at a time. And sometimes that sun comes out immediately and just boom, the shot's gone. So the main variable that you can't control when you're filming outside is the sun. You can, however, manage the sun. You can manage the sun based on where you're filming. You can choose to film somewhere like this, where right now there's a cloud over the sun where we are, but it's probably gonna come out spontaneously and change the whole exposure, where either I'll be overexposed or the background will be overexposed depending on where that cloud moves to, or both, and then everything will just be blown out. So you can choose to just not deal with the sun by filming in the shade completely, say on the backside of a building or under a big tree or something. Gear-wise, one of the best tools you can get for managing outdoor exposures is an ND filter. Right now we have one on this camera, and it's gonna be really shaky for a second. ND filter is essentially it's sunglasses for your camera. So now it probably looks absolutely terrible. But what this allows us to do is have more depth of field by keeping our aperture more open, because depth of field is the parameter that controls. So this is kind of a neat little window into exposure and non-overexposure that becomes really nifty so that you don't have to have everything in focus.
The next thing that I want to talk about is audio. Audio is incredibly important for your videos, but one thing I want to note before we go into that is that this entire time we've been filming, we have had the sun popping in and out of our shots, giving us terrible, terrible lighting. And of course, during our section talking about lighting, it was perfect. We had dogs barking in the background. We had people locking their cars. We had a truck go by. So as much as I'm hoping we get some loud noises so that I can show you how to combat that, again, lack of control, it's probably not going to happen. That's just how it works, right?
Woof, woof.
Oh, did you hear that dog? It's perfect.
Woof.
All right, one of the things we're going to talk about that helps with combating a lot of ambient noise around you is by using a lav mic. So this is what it looks like. Beautiful. I actually have one tucked in, and then it is connected to a transmitter, which is connected to Allie. You can show Allie, look how beautiful she looks. Allie is listening to my audio right now. to make sure that I'm not bumping, or if I was like wiggling around, maybe my wire is being pulled, something like that. She's listening for those things. As a truck goes by, she can let me know, hey, it's just too loud, too distracting, something like that. So having somebody listening to your audio is super helpful, as well as just trying to get a mic that's as close proximity to you as possible. If you don't have the option to get a lav mic or have somebody to monitor your audio, you can get better quality microphones to put on your cameras as opposed to just using the built-in microphone. So if you just pan over to Sebastian over here, we have a beautiful big fuzzy wuzzy that's going to help with any wind. So the best thing that you can do if you don't have a lav mic is to at least put a more professional, nicer mic on the top of the camera so that you're still getting the best quality audio you possibly can. But just keep in mind that's not going to isolate you as well from your environment, so you are still going to get a lot of the ambient noises around you.
That's the X-Files theme song, in case you didn't catch that. We're talking about close encounters of the first, second, and third kind. Not of aliens, but of the types of people that you're going to encounter when you're filming a video in public, when you're vlogging in public, when you don't own the space, and there are potentially people of all kinds in the space that you're filming in. In the film industry, we call pedestrians or people that you don't have control over bogies. First kind of bogey you might encounter when filming in public is the completely indifferent, oblivious bogey. We love this kind. They're just gonna walk through the shot. They're not gonna see us. We might not even see them. They're just background. That's a bogey. Sometimes a car is gonna drive through your shot. Sometimes it's a big deal, sometimes it's not. So we love the first kind of bogey, the walkers, the complete oblivious people who couldn't care less what you're doing. They're kind of on a mission, they're just doing their own thing. The second kind of bogey you might encounter is the kind that is mortified that they might be interrupting or ruining what you're doing. They realize that, oh my gosh, you're filming. Oh, please, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to get in your shot. It's actually worse than if they just ignored you and pretended like they weren't there. These people, it depends on what you're shooting, depends on what you're filming. But sometimes when that happens, that is like an absolute indicator that you need to redo your take. The third kind of bogey, these are the worst kinds. These are the ones who are hostile and nosy and intrusive.
Hey, excuse me. What are you filming?
I'm just filming a vlog for YouTube.
Do you have permission to be here?
Yeah, I do.
Can you show me?
I don't have a permit on me right now.
Then you should probably go.
Is this?
Give me that camera.
We hate that kind. So how do we deal with these types of bogeys? Type 1 and type 2, honestly, the biggest problem with them is not them, it's gonna be you. Sometimes it's embarrassing to be talking to a camera in public. Maybe that's the biggest issue. So that's something that you're just gonna have to learn to deal with. So with type 1 and type 2, the problem's not them, it's you. Type 3, honestly, the biggest and best way to deal with type 3 bogeys is to have a producer. You don't wanna be thinking about people coming and yelling at you and getting in trouble. Maybe you need a producer who's gonna actually lock down a location for you to get permission to have those hard conversations when you wanna be focusing on your content, you wanna be focusing on influence and, touching people's hearts. If you have a really solid producer who's managing that headache for you, a person who can run off to the side and talk to the person, because a lot of the time, if you're in the right place, it's not even gonna be like the owner of the location or something like that. Sometimes you're just gonna have people who are nosy and are gonna wanna get up in your business. So to have a producer, to have somebody on the side who can go step aside and tell them how great it is that you're actually here right now. Manage that headache for you. That's the way I would deal with type 3 bogeys.
I suggest that you put your keys in between your fingers like this, and as they come, you just...
No. That's not suggested, recommended behavior.
Can you give me an audio check really quick on levels?
Okay, this is Ali Bar, audio check, 1, 2, 3, 4. How's this sound?
That's good, thank you.
All right.
Okay, sound speeds.
Camera speeding. We've talked about not having control when you're out and about, but I think it's really important for you to get out with your gear and get out into the public, because just like when I was starting out as a photographer years ago, it forces you to learn how to work with your gear. And your gear, we'll talk about this in another video that you can watch, but when you're out in the public, you want to have special considerations. One of the things I needed was to have support here today. We have Stefania here behind camera, Alicia's listening and producing right now, Sebastian's monitoring our audio, and with the four of us, we can get this done pretty easily. For you, it may be difficult. So what we'd like to invite you to do is think about having a producer, a production team, so that you could just easily go wherever you needed to go, or work in your studio or your office, and all of these things are taken care of for you. We're gonna think about the lighting, the audio, anybody who may distract you. We're gonna help you stay focused and concentrated on your content so that you can deliver the most genuine, relaxed, and fun message. And we do have fun here, as you've seen. We're a little silly sometimes. The point being that we're gonna help you be professional and also have a great time while you present your message with video. So long story short, there are always going to be some things you cannot control, but if you have a team to help you, all of these elements like lighting, audio, people around you, even your schedule and getting it done can be managed very well with that support. What I'm really talking about is having a production team to help you so that you can focus on your content. That's why we're here as your video allies. We give you a little bit of an example of what we do so we can help you as a do-it-yourselfer or someone who wants to grow beyond a do-it-yourselfer to the next level. We're your video allies. You've got this. We've got your back, and we can't wait to see what you create, not just on your own, but when you give us a call so we can help you too.
And cut.
That's a cut.
That's a cut.
Whew.